Hi, y'all. This is Kristen Chenoweth.
Hi, I'm Gloria Stefan.
This is Sarah Bareilles.
Hi, I'm Patty Lapone.
This is Lin-Manuel Miranda. You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Welcome to another episode of the Theater Podcast, intimate personal conversations with theater's biggest names. This episode, my goodness, Jackie Hoffman. Oh, I'm Alan, by the way. I forgot to introduce myself.
Can I be Alan today?
Okay, you can be Alan.
You can be Jillian today.
All right, I'm Jillian.
Woohoo!
Jackie Hoffman.
She's my favorite.
I don't even know where to begin with this reflection section here because she is just unapologetically herself.
Yeah.
And I went into this interview, it was in her dressing room in between shows. She was in her little Hello Kitty slippers and like a bathrobe. And we sat in a dressing room and I approached this like any other interview.
Big mistake.
And quickly realized that I was just getting in the way of a stand-up routine.
Yeah. But that's her whole life is one stand-up routine. And I mean that with the utmost respect because she is just one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, she had me laughing the entire time. Got me out of my train of thought multiple times because she would just come out of left field with these comments that are just her. That's her shtick.
Yeah.
And it was incredible.
I saw Xanadu 5 times when it was out. And every show was basically just her improvising and ad-libbing, and she would just go off and people would sit on the stage for that one, and she would just pick someone and be their friend the whole time, and then this would happen, and then she'd do the song, and then she'd be like screaming and running around, and she's just funny and original, and she is the epitome of comedy.
It's fun. We got into a little bit, like she really gets her artistic creativity and freedom in these one-woman shows that she does, and she's got, of course, the one coming up at Joe's Pub. My gosh, she just keeps adding performance.
Because everyone wants to see her.
Everyone wants to hear this. But I'll just end here and say, all right, everybody, continue on because you're in for a ride here. So before you get into it, please visit us at ttp.fm, show your support, and help us keep the lights on via ttp.fm/Patreon. And visit us on social, theater_podcast on the Instas and the tweets.
Tweets at us.
The tweets at us and the Instas at us. Everybody, please enjoy this episode here with Jackie Hoffman.
Here you go. 1, 2, 3.
This Emmy-nominated, Obie-award-winning actress can currently be seen off-Broadway in the National Yiddish Theatre's production of Fiddler on the Roof as Yente the Matchmaker. She has an extreme number of credits to her name, ranging all across the gamut of video games, TV, film, and of course, Broadway, which include Hairspray, Xanadu, The Addams Family, On the Town, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Her TV and voiceover credits include some of my favorites: 30 Rock, Strangers with Candy, TV Funhouse, Late Night with Conan O'Brien, Family Guy, Dilbert, and the film Robots. She's about to perform her encore performances of her one-woman show Themeless on August 18th and 25th at Joe's Pub.
And 12th.
You added another one.
Well, the 12th was first and we added those. So you're saying them all right, just in the wrong order.
Okay, August 12th, 18th, and 25th.
Correct.
Jackie Hoffman, welcome to the Theater Podcast.
Thank you, Alan. Nice intro.
Thank you.
You covered ground. We can actually sign off now. That was it.
Well, I asked for a bio from you once before, and you said, I'm Jackie Hoffman. I'm an Emmy nominee. Google me. So that's what I've been telling everybody.
Right. That's because I asked you to push my show and you're like, why would I do a thing like this? Like I was some alien being from another planet.
No, I said,
why would I do this?
I wanted just a little bit of something. Anyway, so
yeah, you interview me, you'll get a lot of something.
We're sitting here in your dressing room in between shows on a rainy day.
We are.
You're in your little, are those booty, like sleepy booties?
They're Hello Kitty slippers. Wait till your Tokyo fans hear that I like Hello Kitty. There's Hello Kitty all over my station.
Oh yeah, you gave me your Hello Kitty mug.
That's right. Yeah. Alan's drinking from my Hello Kitty mug.
Well, okay, so tell me about young Jackie. Where did you grow up?
God. On to young Jackie now. I grew up in Bayside, Queens, one of your 5 boroughs of New York City. Long Island Jewish Hospital. Went to Jewish religious school, broke out of that in high school, started performing in the high school plays to avoid getting the abuse that I was constantly getting from mean girls and mean boys in high school. And then the theater bug stuck.
I thought the mean girls and the mean boys pick on the theater people.
Oh, no, this was the way you could look cool in front of those assholes, actually. So it worked for me.
All right. Well, do you have any siblings?
I do. I'm the youngest of 4.
Youngest of 4.
And like I say in my solo show, everyone's on 23 and me and looking for more family members. Why?
You have enough.
Yeah.
Well, did the rest of your family, did they perform, or you're just
they're
kind of
artists in a different way. My late dad was a great natural performer, the funniest person I ever knew, a piano player and a singer, and he was also a great artist, hand manual artist in the days of. He was a graphic designer in the Mad Men era. When it was when Johnny Hamm and those people were dramatizing it.
Yeah.
And so my sister and one of my brothers also inherited that gift. No one else was stupid enough to get bitten by the theater bug, but they're like hand drawy make things people.
So they're
like, and I can't do that at all. I can't draw a stick figure.
So you're all creative. You're all artistic in your own way. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Translate that to making no money. Nobody in my family makes money.
Well, how old were you when you started performing? You said high school? Or middle school?
I was performing since I was a kid, not getting paid. The first time I got paid for it, I was 21, and it was 6 shows a day at Hershey Park in Hershey, Pennsylvania.
Yes.
I was playing Jane Wayne in Shootout at the Trailblazer Saloon.
So you came from the theme park world.
I came, yes, from the theme park.
So did I. I can be there with you, yes. I was at Busch Gardens in Williamsburg.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Were you in the shows there?
Yeah, I did the one-man show with 3 people, strangely. That's a story. Called The Secrets of Castle O'Sullivan.
Oh, my God.
Did you see the show?
No. How would anybody see The Secrets of Castle O'Sullivan? I wasn't in that theme park.
It was 10 years running with $1 million set and a Jim Henson animatronic puppet, partially controlled by one other person. And after we accidentally released our evil ancestor from an enchanted mirror, that's where the third person came in. So it was a one-man show with 3 people. We rotated the roles.
And the one man was Castle O'Sullivan?
Aaron O'Sullivan.
Aaron O'Sullivan.
Yes.
And was it a musical?
It was.
The Magic of Aaron O'Sullivan.
Sullivan. Yes. It was a musical. In the height of the summer, we did 10 shows a day.
Oh my God. And
That
did you like lip sync to a CD?
It was a track. The whole thing, the
speaking to was a track,
well,
right?
It was an animatronic puppet. So once the ushers, there was really no stage manager except to make sure the pyro fired. But once the ushers pressed go, the whole thing was just this big automated thing that
like
just
King
happened.
Kong. Wow.
Pretty much.
I mean, what was it? Was it a giant leprechaun?
It was always a leprechaun. He was like probably 3 feet tall if he could stand.
The only thing more creepy than a real leprechaun is a puppet leprechaun.
Yeah, he was creepy.
They're like the Irish version of clowns.
Clancy.
Not funny and just creepy.
Clancy was his name. He lives somewhere. There were 2 of them because he appeared on 2 sides of the stage.
Oh, Clancy had a double.
Oh, yeah.
Understudy Clancy.
Called Magic. That was Magic. All right.
Wow. Well, that you just beat my shootout at the Trailblazer Saloon to death. Thought I had something.
Well, you can take my story. I'll give it to you.
Yeah, because they'll believe that I was Aaron O'Sullivan.
They actually, 2 years after I left, they let a woman do it, and they changed the spelling of Aaron O'Sullivan.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was it a woman of color?
No, it was not.
Oh, that'll be next.
Well, the show's gone now. It's now some Lunch with Elmo thing.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah, they totally gutted that whole thing.
Wasn't Elmo notorious for like touching kids in the wrong way? Wasn't there like a Tickle Me? I guess maybe one of the Times Square Elmos.
Tickle Me Times Square.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Tickle Me Times Square Elmo was was not a big seller because they were hugging people inappropriately.
God. I hate those costume characters in Times Square.
They're disgusting.
Yeah, they are. They're all freaking criminals.
But I come from
take their heads off and stab each other.
I come from a Disney family, and you don't take your head off in front of other people.
Right.
So when I see them in their Mickey and Minnies and Buzzes and everything walking around just with their freaking heads off, I want to just go up and be like, you're screwing up the magic.
Yes, you're ruining the mystique.
Right. And anyway, there's I guess obviously no morals or regulations out there.
You'd think since they're here illegally, they'd want to keep those heads on.
No comment. Okay, so back to theater here. Where did your sense of humor come from?
Oh God, I think my late dad gave me that gift, and my mom's sister is like one of the fun. I have a funny family. Now they're tragic, but they helped make me funny, I believe.
Well, did you guys all just sit at home and just make fun of each other, or
no?
riff on each other, or?
Now I make fun of them on stage, but no, I mean they were, they were just funny.
Yeah. Is Yente taken from your family at all?
I think probably just by just being who I am and where I'm from, I'm sure I incorporate some familial traits.
Mm-hmm.
I never, it's an old family, not a young family. And my 3 out of the 4 grandparents were dead for many, many years before I was even born. And I knew one grandmother for a few years. But by the time I knew her, she was already kind of senile and elderly. But, I think I incorporate some of her.
A little bit. Was there any matchmaking in your family, like where you came from in Queens? Because there's a lot of traditions still out there.
My mother tried to set up my brother, who was lonely and single until very late in his life, and it turned out to be a disaster. But that guy with anybody would be a disaster.
I just want to know what they say about you.
Who cares?
Fair enough. All right, so was performing. You were not performing for pay, went through high school, and then did you go to college?
Dang. What does that mean? Yes, I did go to college. I went to NYU Tisch School of the Arts.
Mm-hmm. For performing, I guess, then?
For $25,000 a year. Yes. School of the Arts. That would be for performing, yes.
Yes. Well, was it an acting thing or like a musical theater thing? Or
they
what were you
got the
on?
musical theater thing later after I left. When I was there, they would farm students out to various acting studios. Like the wacko, intense people went to the Strasberg studio. The more haughty, waspy people went to the Stella Adler studio. And I went to something called the Actors and Directors Lab that they just threw people in that were just tragic and they didn't know what to do with.
And how did that lead to Second City then? Because you went to Chicago.
That led to temp work. And then someone in that temp world suggested that I contact them. And then I flew out there and auditioned for them.
Oh, contact Second City.
Yes.
Because were you just sitting there? What were you temping doing?
I actually worked for a now defunct company that the older people may remember called Ticketron.
Yes.
Which was beaten by Ticketmaster, who I believe still exists,
oh,
right?
Yeah.
Yes,
oh, yeah.
It was called Ticketron. It was a control data corporation.
Ticketmaster still exists by charging you like $1 million for service fees.
Yeah, I know. Well, they all do. They're all thieves. It's such a ripoff. It's a racket like everything else.
Yeah. Well,
service fees because they press a button on a computer.
Right. Well, now it's all automated now. So, okay. So you were temping.
Oh, God. It's already so long and we haven't even gotten anywhere yet.
We've gotten to so many places. We've covered your childhood and now you're now defunct
and
temp
the leprechaun.
job.
That's the
and
highlight
for
me.
God, it keeps me up at night, that leprechaun.
It should.
Okay. So you go to Chicago.
Uh-huh.
How do you, Chicago. How do you, you contacted them. Did you submit an audition? How were you like?
It said I'd be grateful. I used the word schlep thinking maybe that would be funny. And I don't know. I mean, then I auditioned and then they said they would allow me to go to their training center. So like a work study thing. So they saw some potential, whoever watched me and didn't hate me. And then I went to their training center and eventually got funneled into their various companies.
In Chicago, so you were there the whole
Chicago,
time?
there's a touring company,
Right.
and then you move up to what's called the main stage and the ETC, et cetera, theater,
Mhm.
which are their 2 theaters in Chicago.
Were you there at the same time as anybody that...
Yeah, famous people who you really want to know about, yes.
Okay, well, if you're not going to name drop, I won't ask you to. She rolls her eyes.
I'm not name dropping.
Good. All right, so you are now in... Well, okay, so let's go back.
Ugh.
Well, I was going to skip ahead to Fiddler on the Roof, but I assume there was a lot that happened between Second City and now Fiddler on the Roof.
Yes, you read it all in the intro.
And lots of Broadway. Did you originally come back and get done with the improv and then say, I'm going to come back and do musical theater
Well,
or
actually,
TV? Or
what happened was, I'm dropping this name, that Amy Sedaris said that her brother David had written a play that they wanted me to be in. So that was the perfect out because I had been there long enough and it was time to move on with the next phase of life.
How
And a
many
lot of
years?
people who did Chicago Second City went to LA to pursue that line of work, TV and film. And then I went to New York to pursue the much less paying, less well-known world of theater. But it was this play by Amy and David, and it was so fucking hilarious. And it got, like this show, it got extended and extended and extended. It was called One Woman Shoe, and it was one of the cripplingly funniest things I've ever done.
it was off-Broadway?
It's a great experience. Yes, it was at a dump legendary cabaret called La Mama, Club La Mama.
The Dumb Theater La Mama. What year was that? Do you remember?
95, 96.
And so how long were you at Second City then?
A long time, 8 years.
Oh, really?
Mhm.
Yeah, that is a long time for improv.
Well, I'm afraid to move on with my life, as evidenced by the fact that I'm sitting here right now.
I don't know whether to take that as a compliment or not. Probably not. All right, so then you're in this off-Broadway show with the Sedarises. And they wrote it or they were in it with you?
They wrote it.
Who was in it with you?
Oh, Amy was in it with
Yeah.
me. Jody Lennon, who works in television, she's amazing. Sarah Thayer, who's married to Mr. Andy Richter, and she's a brilliant author in her own right. The late, great David Rockoff, author, and I'm proud to say he was a friend of mine. Yeah.
And okay, so then off-Broadway, how long between that and next year?
I actually hooked up with a gentleman named Kevin Maloney, ran a theater company called Tweed. And in their heyday, they used like the great queens of the day, Lipsinka and Charles Bush, and they would do gender bending way before anybody did it. This is in the late 90s.
Mm-hmm.
They were doing all these gender bending productions. And then Amy and I did a production for them, and I kept doing productions for them. And that's how I helped develop my gay fan base. And then I think what happened is I think Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman saw me in one of those productions. And when Hairspray was in its 12th reading and they were about to launch and pull the trigger and go on Broadway, they said, we need one person who can do a lot of small parts. And then I think Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman said, what about Jackie?
And then
that started, the rest is history. And that started the Broadway career.
And that was 2002, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 2002 Hairspray.
Uh-huh.
And
the original
Hairspray. And then Xanadu was 2008.
Yeah, 7 really. Closed in 8, started in 7.
Okay. So then the 5 years between, how long did Hairspray run? How long were you in that?
It ran 5 years, but I was in it for 2.5.
And what happened in between?
The first thing I did out of Hairspray was the first Tribeca Theater Festival. Of course, a lot less known than the Tribeca Film Festival, but I did a solo piece by Paul Rudnick, which was better than the Leprechaun Animatron, if I may say so myself.
Well, the bar's pretty low there.
Cyril's Magic Cloverleaf, or whatever the fuck it was called.
Okay. So you were doing that. Xanadu came. And then Addams Family, what do you feel really put you on the theater map?
I don't know. Has anything put me on the theater map?
Oh, yeah. Everyone knows your name.
Well, that's not true. Thank you, though. I probably Hairspray.
You think so?
If there was a map.
You put a pin in
I don't
Hairspray.
know,
That was
like
the
a
beginning.
really, yeah. That's where the blue dot goes to the red balloon. Now we're at the red balloon.
Yes. You drop the Apple Map pin there. Google Maps. Okay, so then you're going through all of that, and where does TV and film make its way in?
God, I don't know how far back I can trace that. This is all so painful. What I'm going through to promote a goddamn solo show. It's unbelievable what you have to do in this business. On a 2-show day in between shows, I'm going through this, people. I don't, it started in Chicago, stuff around town. They would look at Second City people. I did, little stints in movies. I used to have a commercial career. I used to have a voiceover career. That all went bust.
What happened?
The business went all celebrity, I think.
Well, you're still well known.
Not well known enough to get a voiceover in anything.
Well,
You have to be uber well known now.
Well, the social media game has a lot to do with it, I think.
Yeah, I'm not good at playing it. I have very few followers on the Twitter. That's the only thing I do is the Twitter.
I know. I was trying to find you on Instagram. Couldn't find it.
No, all the kids want me to do the Insta. I don't want to have to fucking take pictures all the time. It's hard enough to be on Twitter.
Well, what if you take screenshots of your tweets and post them on Instagram?
Oh, God, that sounds so hot. That sounds so pathetic. Will it work? I'll do it.
Probably. I see people do it all the time. Actually, with your phones, you can type, or I think with the iPhone, with the Instagram account or app, you can actually type text and save it as a graphic that then posts on Instagram. But you could also take that text and put it on Twitter as well.
I'm very dizzy. All right, you'll have to write it down for me.
All right, I could Google it
Write
for
it
you.
in an email. Thank you.
Yeah. But you did TV recently, Mamacita.
Yes, my first regular role.
Right, on...
Finally happened at the tender age of 57.
The Betty and Joan feud.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was only one season. What happened?
Oh, well, it was called a limited series.
But I thought it was gonna do more, I was reading.
I don't know. There was a rumor that Ryan Murphy was going to do a Charles and Di segment of it.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know what happened. I mean, he's doing like 19 other projects.
Right.
So.
We should call him up. Be like, I'm ready for TV again.
He knows I'm around.
Has he come to see you in Fiddler yet?
He has not.
No?
It's not his oeuvre. But I did do a guest spot on a thing of his recently, and I remember very little because whenever I have to wake up at like 6 a.m, I'm highly affected and I don't remember much. I kind of black out. But I remember Ryan Murphy sitting across from me on a couch and saying, "Say something in Yiddish."
But you don't know Yiddish, or you didn't.
Well, I just said one of my lines.
Right.
So apparently he knows about this.
Well, yeah.
Because I can't imagine him randomly pulling that out of his ass. Say something in Yiddish.
The show just hit its year anniversary, yeah?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a 6-week gig.
Was it really? Was it only a 6-week thing?
Yeah, it was supposed to be 6 weeks at the museum.
No kidding. That's incredible. So it got extended over and over and over again. And then this is still an open-ended run here, yeah?
They're saying January.
Yeah?
So I'm hoping that'll be the nail in the coffin.
Are you over it? You're ready for the next thing?
I'm ready for the next. Well, not right now. Maybe in January I will be.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's a good amount of time. I mean, that'll be...
Like my family says, if I'm still here.
It'll be a year and a half. A year and a half at any role is a long time.
Yes.
What is it? What's the longest role you've done?
Hairspray at 2.5, and I was ready to blow my brains out.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, do you have a problem? You were saying you don't like to move on. Do you like to be forced to move on? Yes.
I like to have something to move on to. Here's this thing I'm going to drop in your lap. Minimal effort, minimal effort.
I get that. That's why I'm here sitting in your dressing room instead of the recording studio. Okay, so back to Fiddler here. Year anniversary, extended. When did you get involved, and do you know why? What was the decision to actually do the whole thing in Yiddish?
Oh, that wasn't my decision. I believe that was Zalman Malotic, our musical director, had this idea, I believe. And then he wanted Joel Grey as director.
Mm-hmm.
And
when did you get involved with the production?
I don't know how long the idea had been germinating when they summoned me. and how many other people Joel Grey offered the role to. I'm sure dozens.
I imagine him enchanting around a cauldron and out you came. He summoned you.
Yeah, with the leprechaun.
Well, when was that? So this is a year anniversary. That means 2018 it opened. When were you involved with rehearsals and readings?
Not before. It wasn't like a Broadway production where there's a year of readings and workshops. I mean, it all happened pretty fast. It was like my manager put the bug in my ear, and then a few weeks later I was asked to audition, and apparently I was told the audition is just a formality. They just want to hear if you can grasp the Yiddish.
Well, you probably grew up hearing a lot of it, though.
I did.
Yeah.
It was a big part of my my zeitgeist.
Why didn't your parents teach you?
Well, my father came from his family was from the German side, so they were like practically Christians. My mother came from a much more traditional religious home, and she would speak it to her mother, and she always wanted me to speak it, but I'm really like a lazy, defiant asshole, so I didn't learn it. And then when I got here, I was like, boy, am I sorry I didn't learn this.
Was it hard?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, learning any role is hard, but it was very daunting, but we had a lot of great help.
Well, how did you learn it? Did you learn the English and then learn the phonetics?
I learned it phonetically. We learned the Yiddish phonetically, and we would rehearse it in English, and then we would rehearse it in Yiddish.
Oh, interesting.
But I would just kept drilling and drilling and drilling and drilling.
So could all of you do an English version of it if you had to?
If we had to, sure.
I guess you could do anything if you had to.
Right.
If you were paid
Look
enough.
at what I'm doing right now.
All right. Well, tell me about.
All right, let's get to my one-person
Yes,
show,
I was going to say, tell me about the one-woman show.
Yay!
Themeless. What's that mean?
Themeless. Well, that was when we just came up with it, and all we had was a title, but no show yet. So we kind of like themeless, like seamless, and on the beautiful flyer, it's printed like the word seamless.
Mm-hmm.
And now we kept putting stuff in, and we kept creating and building, and now it's like fake news because at the end of the show I say, well, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, despite our best efforts, it looks like we had a theme. So we do, but there's like a lot of funny shit, and it was like magic. My shows all, because I have a great director and a great musical director, and they all come together.
Mm-hmm. Do you enjoy the writing of your original content like this?
That's a really good question. I will put off writing to the point where I would like, let's see, what can I lick off the underside of the toilet? Like to delay writing because I hate it so much. But then when I get going, and then my director, Michael Shirelli, is such an inspiration that when we bounce off each other, the shit just grows.
Right.
And, I don't have an imagination, so I just talk about life experiences, but do it in the funniest, most yet tragic, meanest, darkest way possible. So I just kind of log, like the one-woman show I did about feud, Memoir Sita. I kept a feud diary, and I would read it like Jessica and like all this stuff. And so, like any other writer, once it's written, it sure is enjoyable. And there's nothing more rewarding. Like this show we premiered, I do like original songs. I write the lyrics, and Bobby, the musical director, writes these unbelievable melodies. And then we premiered 3 brand new ones for this show, so it's thrilling, and they all worked.
Wow!
Yeah,
and
it's very exciting.
You sell albums of the original music too, yeah?
There's one album. There's Jackie Hoffman Live at Joe's Pub, but I've certainly written a lot there to fill out a second one. But like anything, this is why I don't do Instagram. This is why I don't do any other projects, because I'm like, so I'm going to have 4 followers, so no one's going to buy it. So this will be another thing I can fail at. So this can be another thing no one will pay attention to. That's how my approach. That's my life approach. Use it, go out there, conquer the world.
Assuming you're going to fail.
Yes. That's how I roll. That's why I don't do much.
Do you really think that everything you've done now, you still think you're not succeeding?
I make a living.
Right. Well, you're surviving in New York.
Yes.
Which is not a cheap place.
No. I'm rent stabilized, but not mentally. That's a tweet.
I saw your tweets the other night, or it was last night. You were talking about the homeless guy combing the lice out of his hair.
Yeah.
I like that you You're basically blogging, journaling your whole
The
existence.
walk home.
Yeah.
Yeah, the walk home is intense, man, up and down 9th Avenue, which is a cakewalk compared to 8th.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. This theater, you do the 9th Avenue walk. Broadway, you do the 8th Avenue walk. So I say that to myself, well, you're not on Broadway, but you're not doing that 8th Avenue walk.
Oh, it's horrible.
That is a special type of hell.
Oh, with the tourists and the heat.
Yeah, no, you can't move.
Yeah, can't move at all. Okay, so themeless. Is that your creative outlet though?
That's where my real joy is, and that's where my black heart is, and that's like those are the most satisfying. And it's like when I'm restricted in a role, even though I'm loving this, this is where I shine, and you can really see all the shit I can do and sing and be, it's like really viciously funny stand-up combined with original songs. So it's a very unique format. They're kind of like one-woman musicals, like the Killarney of Sistio Leprechaun, or whatever the hell your thing was called. I'm trying to call it back. I don't remember the name. So yeah, like it's definitely the most satisfying. And you'd think I would do it more, but the laziness terror cocktail is what cripples me. So come see it when it happens, folks, because it's rare and it's damn good.
How often do you do the shows?
Like one a year, a couple a year.
Oh, so that's not very
sometimes
frequent.
I do, gigs elsewhere.
Yeah. Oh, you're originally only planning to do this once.
I wouldn't call it a tour,
Right. So
but this was supposed to be one show, and now we've added 3.
Right. So obviously you've got a following. People like you.
A small one, but you're going to make it grow.
That's right. Yes. So.
Well, I don't know if they like me, but I think they're just in for the appalling. What is she gonna say?
Do you feel pressure about that?
Well, this is interestingly enough, now in the era, the comedy crushing, humorless era that we're living in. We have one of the songs that we debuted is called Join the Conversation. And it's all about how you're summoned to join this conversation, but that you can't say anything. And so the audience really dug it. And then there were points throughout the evening where they got, and it never used to be that way. And it's really, the landscape has really changed. And it was very interesting. I mean, all the shit killed, but there were things that, there were some things I do where I deal with the anguish of life through, can you still say the words black humor? Can you say that?
You can say whatever you want.
Okay. But that's how I cope. So some of the shit is so dark and so mean and so shockingly mean that when it got to a certain level, the audience would retreat and then we'd get them back. It was really interesting.
Huh. Yeah, I guess, you have to ride that because we're in a very sensitive time right now.
Yeah, like way too sensitive.
You think it's too sensitive?
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, there's sensitive that makes sense. And then there's Twitter sensitive, which is self-righteousness with no intelligence behind it. I call it the look at what a good person I am.
Right.
Yeah.
Presenting your best self when you're really hating
what you think is supposed
inside.
to be the best self, but you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
For the most part. Oh, yeah. The internet is horrible, especially when you get to, YouTube comments or whatever the case is.
Yeah. I keep it to a minimum.
Yeah. You can't read them. You can't read them. You can't get affected by them. Actually, I like when, was it Jimmy Kimmel has celebrities read mean tweets about themselves? I think that's...
yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of great.
Yeah. You should go on and find some mean ones about yourself.
Oh, I'm not enough of a name. Kimmel doesn't want me.
No, I mean, just start retweeting people. Retweeting people that talk shit about you and call them out.
Yes, I remember there was, after one of the mass shootings, don't worry, I'll be more specific. After the Parkland and the Parkland students performed 565,000 minutes on the Tony Awards.
Mm-hmm.
And I tweeted, all the other high schools who had school shootings are so jealous right now. Thank you. Thank you. That's the reaction it's supposed to get. And then someone retweeted it and said, let's not forget what a horrible tweet this is. And it's like, there you go. And that's what that's the theme of themeless.
Oh, that's horrible, but it's funny.
Yes, exactly. That's Jackie Hoffman. That's horrible, but it's funny. Can we wrap up now? I think that was the perfect end to a perfect day.
Actually, yeah, we can end it here. I've got 3 standard closing questions that I ask everybody on the podcast.
Bring it.
The first one is, what motivates you? Very simple.
Being able to eat afterwards.
All right. And what advice would you give to your younger self and younger people now?
Oh, God.
You've obviously been asked this before.
Oh, God. This is such poison. Stop thinking that it's going to get better.
Because it never will. And then the last question, if you could only see one show for the rest of your life, but you can see it as many times as you want, what would you see?
Well, that's easy. It would be Themeless at Joe's Pub, August 12th, August 18th, and August 25th at 9:30 p.m.
All right, fair enough. So we can find you on Twitter at Jackie Hoffman 16, on Facebook /official Jackie Hoffman. Of course, you have your website, Jackie Hoffman.
Oh, don't go there.
Okay, don't go there. Don't go to Jackie
there.
Hoffman.
I haven't been there in years. It's tragic.
But there's a couple broken links, I have to say. I was there the other night.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
I haven't paid attention to it. It's like MySpace.
Cool. Yeah, you can get more of me and the Theater Podcast at thetheaterpodcast.com. You can go to ttp.fm/Patreon to show your support. And you can get more of us on social, theater_podcast, on Instagram and Twitter, facebook.com/official theater podcast. Please give a rating, share with your friends. This is produced by Jillian Hochman, edited by Matthew Hendershot. And as always, thank you to Jukebox the Ghost for the intro and outro music. Jackie Hoffman, thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you. It's surprisingly a pleasure. I was dreading it.
Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful.